Hello and welcome to the short Vort on Parshas Behar-Bechukosai from Revii to Chamishi. With this double header, short Vort on each of these two Parshas, we will conclude the Sefer Vayikra. And the studies of Revii to Chamishi give us a focus on that part. And I noticed a parallel that I'd like perhaps you can give me the connection, what the answer of why they have similar languages in both Revii of Behar and Bechukosai, where it says in Behar, it says that if your brother is so poor that he has to sell his ancestral home, and then later on it talks about someone who makes a neder in Bechukosai to give the value of a person, and there's set amounts for what those values are based on the person's age and gender. That says imachu, if he can't afford to give his pledge, then the Kohen will evaluate his value. So I'm just wondering, we don't see yamuk and mach that often, and here they are both in Revii. So maybe there is some type of connection to be associated, and I'd love to hear from you at devarman2@yahoo.com. But going back to Behar and Revii in Perek Chaf Hey Pasuk Chaf Vav, we learned a Mussar lesson from Netziv Natali Tzvi Yehuda Berlin from Volozhin, that Ishki lo yelo goel habisigo yado. So if a man has to sell his crops, as we mentioned, his house, then we really want him to redeem it. But the selling price is based on only until Yovel, and to see how many crops and the value of those crops. So if a person has a relative, he's going to rely on the relative, and that's how he'll get it done. He won't be relying on Hashem as he should be. However, if a person has no one who could redeem it, he has no relative, perhaps he's a ger, perhaps he has no wealthy relative that can afford to redeem his property before Yovel, then he will rely on Hashem, and Hashem will help him. That's why it says Ishki lo yelo goel. When he doesn't have anyone to redeem it for him, Yisigo yado, then Hashem will help him reach his hand. Now we go into Revii Bechukosai, so that's Perek Chaf Zayin, and we have an interesting thing that a person will give a donation to Hektish, and if he says the value of a person, then it depends on the age of the person. If the most valuable person is a 20-year-old male, he's worth 50 shekel, and a woman is not worth as much for this purpose as a man. She's only worth 30 shekel, but over the different ages, there's from 1 to 5, there's from 5 to 20, 20 to 60, and then after 60. And after 60, the woman's value goes down less than the man's value goes down, because a woman is able to retain certain parts of her value better than men. She goes from 30 to 10, a 67% decline of 20 shekel, and the man goes from 50 to 15, a 70% decline, but 35 shekel. Because man, a lot of his value is based on his physical abilities, and as he passes prime, he can't do as much. However, a woman, she doesn't lose as much of her physical abilities, and she has other abilities, and therefore the gap narrows. But we want all men and women to be friends and to be connected. And if you find someone who's mach, who is poor, we should give them tzedakah, whether they are male or female. So thank you for listening, and I will see you in Bamidbar.